Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find grills, canopies, jerseys, and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour, all at undefeated prices every day. Shop Academy at locations throughout Ohio, including Zanesville, Springfield, and Boardman. Fun can't lose, and neither can you with tailgate gear from Academy. Swing by academy.com today. Mick Walker on the other side of your screen. I'm Spencer Holbrook. It is Wednesday. We are 3 days away from Ohio State versus Texas. 3, that's the ranking of Ohio State. 1, that's the ranking of Texas. It's going to be an epic showdown in the horseshoe. Too bad the thing is at noon because Fox decided that we can't have nice things, Mick. What can have nice things is Ohio State and Texas. These rosters are loaded for bear, as our good friend Tim May would say, for this epic matchup between number 3 and number 1. Let's talk about it, Mick. We're getting a lot of intel from Ohio State and a lot of information from Ryan Day on Tuesday at his press conference about offensive tackle, defensive tackle, expectations for this game. What do you expect from Julian Sayin? What struck your ear on Tuesday, and what do you want to hear from these captains on Wednesday?
Yeah, honestly, the big thing is I don't want to misquote him so I won't say it directly, but Ryan Day was kind of asked about what he wants to see from Julian. It was just about let's just win the game, go 1-0. Let's figure out how to win this game, and we'll build from there. Because I think there's a lot of people that expect the quarterback standard that's been set with Dwayne Haskins and Justin Fields and C.J. Stroud, even Will Howard last year, to be like, oh, this is the standard that Julian Sayin has to hit in game 1, and that's just not the case. He's not going to do that. So if you fully expect him to just come out there and light up the scoreboard and put up 50 points on Texas, that seems unlikely. So if that's your expectation, might be a struggle for you. But he's still going to have a good game, and that was kind of Ryan Day's message: is they just got to find a way to win.
Yeah, I like that because it's just like, hey, the expectations cannot be there, and I think Ryan Day even said you can't have expectations. Like you can't just go into this game and have expectations for what's going to happen because something's not going to happen the way that you think it's going to be, and then you can get yourself all off kilter. I love that from Ryan Day. I love that message. What I learned from Ryan Day, Mick, was in just a completely different vein. I do think that Ethan Onyanwa is going to play in this game, but I don't think he's going to start. So I think Philip Daniels is going to start at right tackle, but I think they are going to do some of this rotating along the offensive line. It just seemed like Ryan Day was setting that up. He said that Phil was going to play a lot. He said they were leaving it up for the rest of the week to see who was going to start at right tackle. Maybe we'll get an answer from Ryan on Wednesday night. I highly doubt it, but maybe. A man can dream. And then I just thought that was really interesting. Luke Montgomery's not going to move off that perch at left guard. I think Austin Sarabeld has completely solidified himself at left tackle. Right guard, Tager Shabola, I thought he was good enough last year to keep that job. He's the only one that started all 16 games on the entire offensive line last year. And then that right tackle spot, does Onyanwa go in for both right guard and right tackle? Do they kind of switch, do a little rotation there between Daniels and Onyanwa? Does Daniels have a short leash if something does happen and Colin Simmons gets loose on him a couple times early in the game? I'm very intrigued by how that works. But in a weird way, I almost trust Ohio State to do what they need to do because last year we saw a rotation that did work. But earlier in the season, we saw a lack of rotation that also worked. So, I could see why some people would be skeptical of that. But I do think there's reason to be pretty confident in this offensive line, and that's going to include Philip Daniels as a starting right tackle, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. The thing is, it's been a common theme. It was a common theme when we talked to Ryan Day on Tuesday. It's been a common theme when we've talked about defensive line or offensive line. Like, they're not a young team. They're just an inexperienced team. Like, a lot of these guys have played multiple years, whether it's Austin Sarabeld or Ethan Onyanwa or Philip Daniels. Like, they have reps under their belt. They just don't have as many as they would have, as the team did last year or even previous teams for the Ryan Day era. And I think that's kind of the interesting thing with, especially with a guy like Tager Shabola. Like, I think he's someone that you got to kind of continue to stoke the internal flames of and make sure that he's going 100%, because if he slips a little bit, he gets a little sloppy. He's a bigger guy. There's some plays that he'll want back if he starts to slip a little bit. So if Ryan Day, if Tyler, I almost said Justin Fry, I hope he's doing well. Congrats to Josh Fire for making the 53 out there in Arizona. But that's Tyler Bowen, Marcus Johnson, Charlie Dickey. Kind of just have to keep pushing Tager. So if you keep saying, hey, Ethan's going to rotate in or Ethan's going to play, like keep a little of that internal motivation going for take a bullet. So I thought that the whole O-line discourse was interesting. And then I admittedly, some of these times during the presser, I'm in and out of the message board or doing different stuff. So I'm going to tee up Spencer for what we learned about the D-line and who could or could not play, whether it's this week or throughout the season.
Man, I don't know. I know for sure that Edric Houston and Caden McDonald are going to start on the defensive line.
Write that down, folks. It's just the two. We know the two.
From there, the three names that Ryan Day mentioned. He had three, which, shout out to him because I thought he would have fewer than three. We had Will Smith Jr., who I know is going to play. There's been too much buzz around him. Tyron Malone, who I think is going to play, but I still don't know if that's out of necessity or out of the fact that he went and took a job. And then the fifth name, just like Larry Johnson did last week, is Jarquez Carter, the true freshman defensive tackle from Florida, who was a top 220 player but wasn't a five-star, wasn't a guy that you would expect to come in and play right away. But Ohio State's scouting department knew what it had in him, and now looks really smart compared to the experts. I don't know what we're going to get. I did a crossover message board thing with the Inside Texas folks, which they've been great all week. They've been really nice and helping us out. We've tried to help them out as much as we can. To be honest, the Texas fans, they were fine, I guess.
We don't burn couches. People in Ohio don't burn couches. For anybody that wants to go check that out on the Inside.
Yeah, apparently there was a thing from the Ohio State. The students burned some couches after the national championship win. And I just kind of chalked it up as stupid drunk college kids doing stupid drunk college things, which who among us? I mean, let's be honest here. Yeah, go Bobcats. But anyway, they're very, very confident that this Ohio State defensive line is just going to be not good. And I would caution Texas fans against that. But also, I don't really know exactly what to expect from this defensive line, especially the interior. Edric Houston can't play 80 snaps. I don't think Texas is going to take 80 snaps, first of all. But, Edric Houston can't play every snap of every game. I'm very intrigued as who the first three tech is off the bench because I think Will Smith Jr. solidified himself as the first nose tackle off the bench. Can Tyron Malone play three tech? Is Jarquez Carter ready for that? I don't know. So, I think Ryan Day's words were telling that those five will be the five. But, how much do they trust those other guys beyond those starting two? I'm really curious, and that's maybe something that I'm going to be watching the most closely, if that's even the way you say it, on Saturday.
Yeah, 100%. Whether it's the rotation early or just, like you said, they can't play 80 snaps, even if they played 80, 70, whatever the number is. In the fourth quarter, if they played a good, solid first half and they kept Texas to, say, 7 points or 3 points or 10 points, whatever it is, in that fourth quarter when Texas has the offensive line is able to lean a little bit more, can they get C.J. Baxter going? Can they get Jarrett Gibson going? Can they get Christian Clark going? Can they get some of these running backs going just because Edric Houston hasn't had to play a full game before? Caden McDonald hasn't had to play. How are these guys' stamina, not just when it comes to who can rotate in and out, who can play? How long can they last, whether that's the defensive ends or the defensive tackles? It'll just be one of the more interesting things to watch, and it's something that we probably won't get any more insight about, whether that's talking to Sonny Styles on Wednesday night or talking to Caleb Downs. It's probably going to be months the word, even though we're getting some of these captains on Wednesday night, but it's still something that's worth watching.
Ohio State fans, football is officially back. Being at the tailgates and in the stands, there's nothing better. Getting tickets is a different and frustrating story, though. Queues, endless forms, login screens, prices jumping at checkout. All you want to do is be there in the moment, cheering for your teams with fans, and instead you're getting ticketing apps giving you the runaround. The Gametime app gives the advantage back to fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's incredibly easy to use, and Gametime guarantee means you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included, so what you see is what you pay for, like college football tickets for as low as $25. Now, we're not talking Ohio State, Texas. Those tickets are a little bit more expensive, but that's okay. You can use exclusive discounts like zone deals. You choose the section, Gametime selects your seat, you save. It's an easy way to find and buy college football tickets and tickets for every event in your area, concerts, comedy shows. I love comedy shows, going to them, checking things out. It's a great time, but college football tickets are what we're here for, of course. Views from all seats for every venue. The lowest price is guaranteed. Event cancellation protection, job loss protection. They've got you covered over at gametime.co and the Gametime app. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code ON3, ON3, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code ON3, ON3, for $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go download the Gametime app today. Don't want to download the app? Go to gametime.co. That's gametime.co. Use the code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase at Gametime.
So we'll see. We'll see. I'm supremely interested. The other thing I'm interested in, Mick, that we heard from Ryan Day on Tuesday was just, and you already touched on it with the Julian Sands stuff, but his cut it loose mentality. He was really no nonsense a lot of Tuesday, kind of a quiet confidence in some ways. I think Ryan Day thinks that he's got something with this team. He's used the word edgy so many times throughout this offseason. Again, that Texas crossover thing they asked me about, potential national championship hangover, and it's weird. I haven't even really considered a national championship hangover because this team is so different and so young and so hungry to go do their own thing. And so many guys on this team feel like they haven't even accomplished anything. And I've talked to Brandon Innes about this countless times, and I think that's the guy that I'm going to lock in on a Wednesday night is like he made a critical third down catch in the national championship game. He still doesn't feel like he did anything to win a national championship. He feels like he needs to win his own national championship this year, and now he's a captain of the team. That personality that he has is going to carry over through the entire locker room, I think. And so Ryan Day talking about the edgy team that he's got, the personality of his team. Like, you can learn a little bit from what a coach thinks his team's personality is. I think Ryan Day, from what I got yesterday, and to be honest, there wasn't a lot in there. He was there to get it done. I'm just here so I don't get fined style. We didn't really learn a ton from Ryan on Tuesday, for being honest. And usually he's pretty good. I'll give him that. I just think he feels like he's got something with this team. And that's given me a little bit more confidence in what Ohio State's going to be on Saturday.
Yeah, and it's 100% accurate. Like you said, like nobody cares if Brandon Innes won a national championship as a backup wide receiver or the fourth wide receiver, or whatever you want to call him. Like nobody cares that Austin Saravel won a national championship as a rotating in at guard. Julian Sain doesn't win anything because he was sitting on the bench while they beat Notre Dame. Obviously, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs are a little bit different. We'll talk to them on Wednesday night because they were both on the field for most of that game. But even then, Sonny, I think Sonny would tell you he's 3 times the player that he was last year, just because getting another full year with James Laurinaitis. It's really Caleb Downs is the only one that you could see being complacent, but he's just elite in a mindset-wise, so he's just not going to be complacent. But again, I agree with you. I don't really see a national championship hangover coming in at any time soon. Maybe it's something we ask these guys about, whether they've had this thought or whether it's been a discussion. But it feels like they kind of nipped it in the bud in January and in the spring when it was like, hey, well, it's cool that we have all these new posters up. Let's take them down now because it doesn't matter. Like those results don't count towards this year. You don't start 1-0 because you won the national championship, and that's, I imagine, what Ryan Day has been saying. Mick Marotti, all the coaching staff in it, but it's not really something that the players have talked about just because they haven't been asked about it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Last couple things we learned from Ryan Day, and we'll get into what we want to hear on Wednesday. I thought it was interesting that Ryan Day was talking about Brian Hartline going to the box. We didn't get a word on Matt Patricia. I would assume he's going to be up in the press box, the coach's box, calling the game. We don't have full assignments. Last year, Keenan Bailey was up there in the box with Chip Kelly. Won't surprise me if he's up there with Brian Hartline. Those two are extremely close. Then you can have Devin Jordan and a couple other guys down on the sideline coaching up those receivers and tight ends. I think that's probably a good place for Ohio State to be. Again, like I said, Patricia, I would assume he's going to be in the box. We didn't get an answer on that. But Hartline will be. And I think that's a big change for him, but I think it's probably for the best to avoid the distractions. If he needs to, he can relay some messages, like I said, down through Devin Jordan onto the field and get some receiver feedback and what he needs. And he'll be able to talk to Julian Sain a little bit through the headset in that regard too. So I thought that was it's obviously a change because Hartline has been on the field for so long and coaching his guys so hard. But there are trade-offs with everything. He wanted play calling responsibilities. Ohio State wanted to give him play calling responsibilities. He now has them, which means you move to the press box.
100%. And one of the more interesting things, obviously, it's contingent on a win because wins are asking questions after a win or compared to a loss are different next week, especially since you got Grambling coming to town. But one of the more interesting things is Josh Boyer, who I don't think we've really touched on a ton throughout this podcast, but it was like, oh, Josh Boyer's going to come on and be Matt Patricia's eyes in the sky. And then people kind of asked Ryan Day about it, and he goes, he's actually going to help me a lot. And then if you watch them when they walk off the field, he's walked off the field with the assistant O-line coach and the assistant quarterbacks coach and all these offensive guys. So like you said, maybe Keenan Bailey's up there in the box with Brian Hartline because they have a good history together. Or maybe it's Josh Boyer up there just kind of, hey, Brian, I see this from the defense perspective. And Keenan Bailey is to be down there with the tight ends and the wide receivers. So maybe it's something if they win against Texas, we can kind of see what Josh Boyer did or how some of the operational things worked because, like you said, it's just different. It's new with these different people. So it'll be kind of fascinating to see how it all comes together, especially when you kick off against the number one team in the country.
All right, Mick, what do we want to hear on Wednesday night? How do we want to see these captains react to some questions?
Knowing Sonny Styles, he's not going to react all that much. Austin Cerebral won't say that much either. So those two are going to be pretty monotone and in and out of their thing. Brandon Ennis could give you something interesting just because I think he is an opinionated, fiery guy that's going to say what he truly believes. Caleb Downs could give you something interesting, or he can make it sound interesting just because he's that type of guy. I don't know really what we will learn. Now that we kind of do bring it up a little bit, I'm fascinated to see if they have any thoughts on potentially, motivating after a national championship. How do you stay up? How do you respond to that then in that first week after you won it? Obviously, it's been months later, but that first game after. So that's kind of the things I want to hear is just how they're handling that, how you prepare to go into a game like this.
This is what I want to talk to him about, Mick, and I'm actually going to ask a couple of them this question. You wanted all this stuff taken down and not shown in the national championship. We don't need to celebrate it anymore. We're hungry for this. Saturday, they play the number one team in the country at home, and what are they going to do? They're going to unveil the national championship banner. So how are they going to compartmentalize that and celebrate that on Saturday for what they accomplished and forever being immortalized in the stadium, while also understanding that they haven't accomplished jack you-know-what this season? So I'm just curious to get a couple thoughts on that. Because, again, all these guys heavily contributed to last year's national championship team, but they're the ones that said that it's not their national championship. Well, it's definitely Caleb and Sonny's national championship. But, a lot of these guys are the ones that said that's not their championship. But they're going to see that championship banner unveiled in a ceremony on Saturday. So how do they level with that and kind of get their mind right to go play Texas? I just something that's been on my mind a little bit. It's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic that's at play there.
And it'll just be interesting from the fact that one thing we didn't touch on with Ryan Day when he spoke on Tuesday, but he said that pretty much they went through a full game day routine, going to the stadium, going into the locker room, singing Carmen, Ohio afterwards, singing the fight song and all those different type of things. So I imagine when you're Ryan Day, you're Mick Marotti with Quinn Temple. I don't know who all gets involved in this decision, but is it, hey, maybe we keep the guys out on the locker room, or do we bring them out on the field to see the unveil? I don't know what all the thing is. I imagine there'll be some NFL guys before the season gets started that'll pop back up into Columbus, whether that's Jack Sawyer or some of these other guys. Maybe they'll be around and kind of get to watch this unveiling, but I'm not really sure how that'll go or what you, like you said, how you handle that when you've said all offseason that it's not really our national championship or we want to go get a different one.
Yeah, I mean, but it's great. It's a great message, and I love that they've carried that message all through the entire offseason. But I'm just curious as to how everybody reacts, because the fans are going to be really excited to unveil that 2024 to go along with 2014 and 2002 and 1970, which is so questionable to me, 1968 and so on. Like, it's going to be there forever, and now you've got to go win it again. So that's interesting to me. Anything else that you want to hear on Wednesday, Mick, before we get out of here? It's a little bit of a shortened show here, but I promise we've got a lot of coverage coming on the YouTube channel on Thursday and Friday, especially with some bold recruiting predictions, some bold predictions. Anything else you want to hear, Mick, before we get out of here?
No, not really. I mean, they're not a sponsor of the show, but if you guys ever want to know what that brand on Spencer's shirt is right now, that's Rowback. And he loves it so much that I'm willing to bet you he wears it for the next 3 shows that we have, this one and the next 2. So tune in to kind of see if that prediction comes true, and we'll see what's going on. But Spencer just loves that brand. We love you guys for being here watching, and make sure you come on down to the Lettermen Lounge message board and talk about what you like about Ohio State football, because that's where we'll be talking about it. But thanks again, and let's enjoy a good football game on Saturday.
Yeah, it's football season, baby. It's 60 degrees outside. I had a pumpkin cream cold brew from an unnamed, unsponsored coffee joint the other day. Not a sponsor. If you want to be, come hit us up, yo. But I had one. They're just siphoning money out of my bank account with pumpkin cream coffee. We're officially here. It's football season. There's no better time to come join Lettermen Row. Come on over. Join the party. We won't change our logo like Cracker Barrel did. We're just going to continue to cover Ohio State the best we know how. That's Mick Walker on their side of your screen. Jeremy Birmingham, Austin Ward, Alex Gleitman, part of the crew over at LettermenRow.com. If you like what you hear, come see it over at LettermenRow.com. We'll see you guys over there. That's Mick. I'm Spencer. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. We'll see you guys again soon.